I'm Andrew Southworth, and this is my point 4 cents.
I'm Dustin Boyer.
I'm Jesse Kedem.
And I'm Matt Bacon, and this week we'll be discussing artist positioning and Spotify Rap's big new changes. This week I interviewed veteran music marketer Rob Gross. He works over at The Syndicate and has worked with artists like Black Sabbath, The Rolling Stones, and so many more. We get deep into tactics, how the industry works, and larger theories of what makes music marketing tick.
Then behind the paywall, we'll be discussing the Christmas gifts we think you should get yourself, and that you can actually just book your favorite band to open for you if that's what you want to do. So guys, I have a hot take here. I've been kind of making this observation, but I think I've really seen it now, that I think in general what always broke artists was when you could see that they were not just a mid version of another band and that they distinctly stood out at a different position, that they would usually grow faster. But I think this started to mean more in 2025, and I'll give you my hottest take here. Addison Rae, when she put out her first EP, had 88 million TikTok followers and bombed because her positioning was boring pop star, bad imitation of Kesha. I loved the record, listened to it a ton, but no one else did. And then once she went away, did some artist development, and came up with a unique position, she blew the fuck up. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I do know a few artists. I don't know why Apple is giving us a thumbs down right now. It's a great way to start things up. I do know a few artists that they initially started releasing music and they wanted to fit in a box, which I think a lot of artists do. They were like, I want to do this and I don't want to be anything wild so I could be marketable. But I know several people who started off and like all their ads were expensive, all their content kind of did mid and nothing really popped. And then they veered off into some slightly unique path. And then everything just got way easier. And with the way that algorithms on social media and Spotify are so specific to your listening habits, you can kind of be weird now. And that's actually a good thing rather than having to fit.
But I also think a certain chunk of it is not just authenticity, but vulnerability. We talked about this with Todd, who manages Castle Rat, a couple months ago on the podcast, right? Where that's a band where the singer, well, they all dress up like weird fantasy characters, and the singer dresses up like a warrior princess from like an 80s fantasy movie, right? And yes, like that's over the top, and like yes, that does help like catch people's eye, but moreover, it's like that fits on a lot of different lineups because it's so vulnerable and honest and like, hey, like I'm just really into like 80s fantasy stuff, and I feel like that's really the door opener is, anyone can have attractive people fronting a band or, songs that are strong, right? But it's like, I think it's about leaning into the most fully realized version of yourself. I've had a lot of conversations about this with an artist I was mentoring for a while where it was like, if you lean into, like for him, it was if you lean all the way into your 90s aesthetic and if you start doing like VHS type filters on your stuff, suddenly you look different from all the other bands in your space, which is crowded. And it was that simple.
The authenticity of it all is where a lot of artists get caught up because 100% the artists that create a brand that is the noisiest in the sense of the branding tend to stand out the best. The problem is that when it's not authentic and they feel like they're being forced into something that they're not. One thing that we do out of the gate with just every project is we do this branding doc, and in it we actually like pinpoint 3 contemporary competitors. And I say competitors, artists, they're not really your competition, but they are in the sense that you've got to stand out. Who are you standing out against? And, what we try to do is find, okay, these are all the very authentic brand values around this artist, but compared to these other guys, which one stands out? And then, like you said, Matt, you lean in. You go super hard. So if you're looking at, I won't name any artists, but I have one artist who is very like country, but he's also kind of like huge and mythic in character and size. And like, he's almost like a Greek god in some ways. And that was unlike any of the other 3 that we're competing with. And so we're going to focus on that. We're going to make him larger than life. That's not what he's all about, but that's what's going to stand out amongst his, contemporaries.
I think too, the big thing too, since we see all these surveys that show that word of mouth is so much of music, of fan conversion. One of the things is if the word of mouth is this is a mid version of Blink-182, not very exciting to rip the earbud out of your friend's ear. But like when it's like, for example, my wife and I went and saw Dijon this week, and it was literally the single greatest sonic sounding concert I've ever seen in my life. The producer was doing live dubs and effects from the stage on a mixer the whole time, and some of the best musicians playing. And I tell a bunch of people, like, I just saw me, who goes to more concerts than 99.99% of people. I just saw the best concert of my life, one of the best records of the year. Pitchfork just gave him Artist of the Year. You're going to go, oh, that's a differentiated artist. They sound nothing like it. That's exciting. Mid version of this, I like this record, okay. Not so much.
Yeah, basically. I mean, so I think that so often people are afraid of coming off as obnoxious and coming off as
Yeah.
like too silly. But I think that when you're kind of pushing beyond the brink in your head is a lot less extreme than what the actual brink of everything is. If that makes sense.
That's the thing artists also don't understand, and I think that all 4 of us can relate to this idea that you have to go over the top, and then when you watch it back, it's not as over the top as you think. And when you speak to a camera, we've all learned this, right? You speak to a camera, and it's like you have to emphasize everything. I was talking to my business partner, and he laughs because he's like, "You guys are so hyperbolic. It's not there's more nuance." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course there's more nuance, dude, but, like, when you get in front of a camera and you want to really grab people's attention, you need to make a statement, and you need and the artists are the same way. Is your brand making a statement? Because if you're just that artist, but mid, yeah, there's no statement. There's nothing interesting. And I don't mean to bring the politics of it all, but the world lives in hyperbole right now. The US president is the most hyperbolic American capitalist that you can think of. Everybody's always looking for the next headline, and we all have a dopamine drop when we see something we've never seen before. So there's a certain level of shamelessness that you have to just sort of like take on. But then once you find your stride, I feel like you become it. It becomes part of who you are and your brand.
Shamelessness and branding? What could you be talking about?
My line on my Hinge profile that got me all the ladies when I was single was, I put the hyper in hyperbole.
There you go.
But I think that what you're saying is exactly correct, Dustin. Because first of all, like, it's always important to remind yourself that like guar exists. Like the most ridiculous over the top thing is
Yeah.
out there, but it does really well because it's ridiculous and over the
It's
top. I don't know if you
fun.
guys have seen
People
guar,
want
but
it.
guar is
Yeah.
so fun. Like it's you're getting sprayed with blood by aliens. That's ridiculous.
Steve Aoki throws cakes at people. Like, people talk about that.
By the time this is out, I put up this 4-hour long video this week, and one of the big things I do for 5 minutes is I talk about artists' positioning as compared to the way hamburger brands differentiate themselves. One of the things I talk about, though, is I kind of feel like guar is one of those hamburgers where it's like there's onion rings, there's 3 flavors of aioli in it, and it's something you want every once in a while, but it's not what you're going to eat every day. And then so I think like that's the thing is like, and to take it back to our favorite twink that we discuss all the time, Somber, like what I think is really interesting about Somber is it's a very subtle recognizability in branding. Is this thing of that, like, him when you see him, but it's not something that's like very over the top. It's very classy and tasteful. And with the songs as well, I think like it's a very interesting thing is it's a tale as old as time. I've been fucking a lot. Things got messy because I fucked a little too much. Like, that's kind of his thing. And when you look at his Spotify bio, it basically says that.
He's done a really good job of walking that fine line between a unique brand that isn't cringe and over the top. I do think that there is some artists who embody that quality that they're trying to stand out with so effortlessly. Like I've seen art. I mean, we've all seen the artist that tries to be too cool, right?
Mm.
And you're just like, God, you are not good at this.
Oh, Jesus, sorry.
No, who's that? I missed that.
I don't know what you were saying.
Steve was
I didn't hear it
Steve.
either, but I'm gonna listen back.
I had a cough that sounded like the word role model. I don't know why.
This is going to be the most replayed part of the podcast.
Yeah, what did he say? But yeah, it is tough because some artists, but that's why like you need an outside person, I feel like, to do some of your branding. It's like, okay, what is this person about? Like if you had to name, like if somebody listened to your music and then explored who you are, what are the 4 things that they would find valuable about your brand? And then which one of those stands out? And if you look at that and you go, that's really hard for me to pull off, then don't pull off the thing that like you feel really confident in being and who's authentically you.
I saw I think it was a TikTok video of someone explaining that their opinion was that a lot of artists look too boring. They
Yeah.
look like they're just a dude that walked off the street. And their advice for how to up the artist's visual aesthetic and how they dress on stage and stuff was to have them think of themselves like if you had to draw a caricature of you,
Yeah.
what would they draw? Like what are the because like you can't have any like distinct facial things. It has to be pretty kind of coarse. How would you draw you, or how would a child draw you with like crayons where it
Or
could
the
still be
whole thing of how
recognizable?
would somebody dress for you as Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Did you make this video? Am I quoting you
No,
right now?
no, Ruff did a video about the Halloween thing,
It might have
but
been
that's
rough.
been
It
that
was one of the people in our circle was
was
doing
talking,
that, and
but that's been a
and
thing
it
forever
applies not
in
just,
artistry. It's always
Yeah,
been
But
no,
about the costume.
and I think that it's actually a
yeah.
very interesting thing because, like, like I don't know how dialed you guys are into that artist Nate Sim, but I thought it was like very interesting. Is like his first videos, it's like Stitch Fix Allbirds level lack of fashion, and then he kind of like pulled back for a second, and now you see this like first coming out interview, and it's like, okay, now he looks like himself and he things, and like I think it's a very interesting thing because artists often are very scared to go out and start doing anything when it's mid, but it's like there's videos of every artist not being fully formed and being what they are. I mean, this Addison Rae thing that I was talking about from the jump, it's like going back and looking at that AP last night when I was making the graphics for this video I was doing on it. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe anyone had approve on this. And now she's the sickest there is.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it circles back to something Dustin was saying is by doing it, you get more comfortable in the role,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's very much like we all have experienced this as content creators, right? Like we got less janky, we got more in tune with what we are. Being a caricature of yourself, though, I've never heard of that. But but it's really like this thing of like that it doesn't magically happen. Another way to think about it that you'll see a lot, especially if you work with like developing artists when they start touring, is I love watching how much cooler the artists I work with become after they've played 150 shows.
Yeah.
Like after you've done 4 or 5 tours, like you are like regardless of genre, regardless of who you are, you become cooler after the 4 or 5 tours because you've been exposed to so much cool shit and you understand like what gets people to react because you have that public
I call it road dirt. They get a little road dirt on them,
Yeah.
and they just don't give a shit anymore, and it's effortless.
Yeah, it's always funny too, like when you sometimes have that band that just got on the tour because they're like starting to catch a buzz, and you talk to you go visit the band comes to New York, and like it's them and the second up headliner, and they're leaving that one on the bottom row. Like, why are those guys? I'd love to meet them. They're like, no, we don't let them in the dressing room. They can't hang yet. Like, because they're like
They're not cool.
they're taking selfies with you. Like, I can't believe we're on tour with you, and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
cornball, cool down, cornball.
Yeah.
but again, like 150 shows later, everyone gets it.
150 shows later, that band is hanging and banging and real cool.
But I think if you're working in the music industry and you were to take something away from this conversation, it is either working with that artist and finding that thing that is like truly them and then helping them pull it out that can be competitive and then exasperate it. And I think that's what happens on the road. Those 150 shows, they're experimenting and they're going, people really like this one thing that I do. How much more can I do with it? And they sort of discover it on their own. Versus some asshole like me who's like, do this thing. And they're like, that's never been me. I just do that. I do that behind the scenes. It's usually something they do behind the scenes. I'm like, that needs to be like in front of the camera, not behind the scenes.
Well, and so often it's literally just going like What are you interested in? Anime? Okay, make an anime joke when you're on stage. That'll hit. Maybe wear something that looks like something a character in Death Note would wear. You don't have to go full like visual K, but like you can wear a cooler leather jacket, for example.
I mean, when I was still a record producer, one of the main things I saw as the philosophy of the record producers who really worked well with artist development and made unique records of artists is the idiots would go, everybody else is doing this, we should do it. And what the good record producers would do is we'd go and we'd say, okay, what do you uniquely like? You're a metal band who really likes Elvis Costello. Okay, well, maybe we should put a Vox Continental into this thing and figure out how we bring in that record. Maybe we figure out that you have this unique love for this book series and you should do lyrics, except for those terrible Ayn Rand lyrics that Rush did. That was bad.
I just want to point out that Jesse very casually included himself in the universe of good music producers. I thought that was funny.
He's got self-confidence. And I'm a good marketing person. Like, we should all back yourselves up. Be a badass.
I got 100 million streams of record producing under my belt here, Chief. I feel pretty good about it.
Now, I will say that I don't think it necessarily always has to be authentic from the perspective of like, this is how this person is in their like day-to-day life, so to speak. I've met so many artists where like they just created a thing that is like this separate thing that it's not necessarily their personality. Like it pulls from some of their interests perhaps, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like you're this cool, calm person in real life, and therefore that's how you are on stage. It might be like you're a total isolated, shy, like person that doesn't socialize ever, and so your persona is like almost the antithesis of who you are. Like you can create your own character and kind of play the character. And I've had some artists where that's actually much better than trying to be like authentic or what people think is authentic.
It depends on the artist, though. I'll say that, like, if the artist is willing to play that game, I think yes, because crafting a product is easier than trying to build one around something that already exists. But so many artists that I work with, anyways, are like, no, this isn't me. No, this isn't me. No, I'm not going to do this. And so you got to go, okay, well, what is it about you that is really interesting? Right. And I'll take, for example, fucking Zach Top, right? Like Zach Top in 2021, his manager was running around town saying, listen to this guy when Bro Country, and I know you guys are big country guys, so you get this,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Bro Country was a thing, and everybody was listening to Zach Top, and he's like, it's too traditional. And instead of leaning out, instead of being like, well, we got to make him Bro Country, they're like, oh, we're going to zig when everybody zags, and we're going to lean into the traditional country. And instead of trying to ride a trend, we're going to make our own trend. And that trend took off so much. Now you have everybody following that trend in country is traditional 90s country. So zigging is when everybody else zags and just accentuating the thing that makes him him. And Zach wouldn't have did it any other way. If I went to Zach and I was like, dude, talk shit like Gavin Adcock. Before Gavin Adcock, he would be like, oh, that's not me. Like I hang, I drink a beer, So I think it's, if you can get that right, like Oliver Tree is that. Oliver Tree woke up one day and decided, I'm shameless, I'm going to be this character, and did it. And I think it's fucking brilliant.
And so this is the thing, I think, is that sometimes the way we're discussing authenticity is, I think, like a little bit off because what we're lacking is the nuance of this concept of the kernel of truth. Like it's a big thing that I know Dr. Luke did a lot of like when he writes songs with ours, that what you can have, and like I know the singer of the Hives has talked about this a lot, is that you can have this person that a lot of the best artists don't talk about their artist self as themselves. They see it as this character they play, but there is a kernel of that they're bringing out of them. The problem is like, a famous thing. There was this very big pop punk record label, Drive Through Records, that started to try to force the Beatles to be an influence on everybody. And a lot of these artists are like, I don't give a fuck about the fucking Beatles. You do. That is not authentic. That is somebody forcing an interest that you don't have. Whereas when there's this character in you that can be a bigger version of yourself, but is not necessarily who you are when you're hanging out with your wife in your pajamas.
Which goes back to your caricature thing. I agree with that.
Yeah. I think what people sometimes mistake is that character, as long as it has a piece of you in it, can still be authentic.
Yeah, that character can be something that's very much from you. Like someone could see you in real life and kind of just it's a more extreme version of you. But in a lot of cases, that might just be something completely different that you fabricated out of individual things you like that no one would ever know exactly is from you, but it might be. And like I don't know, Kim Dracula, like decent. I don't know if you know. I know
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt knows them, but like their whole character is they're like this dark, like serial killer or whatever, right? And they're playing a character, and I'm sure there's elements of their lives that the reason why they develop this character they play. But I've also met artists where it's way more subtle that they're kind of playing someone who's a kind of could be a realistic person, but it's like a it's not them at all. It's like you talk to them in real life. It's like that's not what they're like. It's not an extreme version of them. It's like this complete separate thing they've created because it was cool to them and it was inspired by some things that they like.
It's like how a lot of spies end up becoming really good novelists because they're so used to creating a narrative for themselves and like living in this other life. And so then they're able to like write stories that way.
They're good
And
liars, fiction
what
writers.
yeah, I mean Roald Dahl
Yeah.
did that. So all that to say, like you can go do that. Like just to double down on what Andrew said, to go back to the Guar example. Obviously, Guar are not actually monsters, right? But I'm sure those guys like think monsters are cool, and I'm sure they like comic books, and I'm sure they like, weird DIY art. So they just took it to the logical endpoint.
It's very, very apparent in the documentary on them.
Oh yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. And the documentary is great because it's like
It's great.
so fun. Because it's very clear, like, oh, we're just passionate about like monsters and comic books and weird DIY art. You can take
Yeah.
that to a
So
place.
it has those pieces of them, but they made this like world that has no bearing on like themselves as people necessarily, but it's inspired by things that they otherwise enjoy. So I don't know. When people say like be authentic, some artists are like, but I don't want to be me. I don't that's like I don't do music to be me. I do music to because I want to be this other thing that I'm not, you know. It depends on the artist though. Some people are just very authentic musically.
I think the thing that's missing of authentic is that sometimes what it is that like your good example is like the amount of times I've been in a fucking A&R meeting where they're like, you should put this dubstep breakdown. They're like, I fucking hate dubstep. That's literally what I fucking hate, and I'm rebelling against. Being authentic is saying I hate that and not doing it. Putting the dubstep in because your A&R guy told you to do it because they're a fucking moron chasing a trend, that's inauthentic.
Yeah, and this becomes the problem. Like I'll get DMs where it's like, what's like the scene that's popping off the most right now? I want to figure out how to position myself. And it's like, well, if you don't, it's like if you don't like that scene, then like you're not like maybe you are like that next level songwriter where like you can go write a song in a genre you don't like, but like you're not going to be able to like market yourself in that. You're not going to be able to like figure out like what does this look like that is fun, you know? And if you don't like it circles back again and again and again and again to like the big thing that AI can't take from you, which is having a clear artistic vision. And it's just everything in 2025 going forward, going all the way back to Addison Rae, is about taste and curation of taste. Because if you don't have curation of taste, if you don't have good taste, if you don't, within your space, then you're fucked. Like that's it.
Mhm.
This is why I'm always advocating for like going to shows and like seeing what's up and like music, like mass music consumption and like thinking meaningfully about how people are posting on social media and the photographers you work with and the album artists you use or whatever. Cause like it's literally just that. Everything else is going to get replaced.
But Matt, you go to shows all the time and have terrible taste.
Swans is the greatest band to ever exist.
Oh boy.
Yeah, is
Okay.
taste an intrinsic thing? Are you born with it, or are
No,
you just
No, but you curate it because it's just like
Yeah.
No, you can study real hard and still have taste that a lot of people. I mean, like I always say, it's like there's some people who can be so studied in a thing that everyone finds so cringe. It's fine.
Yeah. Taste is a crazy thing. Like a lot of musicians would like kind of praise Jacob Collier a lot. I have never heard a piece of music from him that I've actually enjoyed. I enjoyed some of his content. He seems like a very talented, nice dude. I don't dig his music, but he's like won awards and shit.
It
Like,
is true that
and
like musicians nowadays, especially with how niched out everything has become, are sort of tastemakers in their own niche, right? Like
Mhm.
you're making the music in your niche that people like you're setting that trend. And I think that, if you don't listen to country, you're not gonna like anything country, but when you're in country and you're like, "Man, I" when I hear these musicians, these country artists talk about their favorite artists, they know what they like, and they're not ashamed of it, and then that sets the trend.
Surprise, we are going on tour with the podcast. We are doing 3 shows all across the country. We're talking at Anaheim, Nashville, and New York City in January. You can see the tour dates on our website and on all our social feeds. I am so excited. I haven't been on tour in, like, years, so I'll be breaking out the Marlboro Lights. But all this to say, if you are trying to learn about music marketing, if you are trying to meet up with us and ask burning questions, if you want to hear Jesse insult me live and in person, then guess what? This is your opportunity. This is going to be so much fun. Jesse and I have been doing live events together for a couple years now, and they're always a blast. My dad came to one, and if you want to just get like a lot of high level information in an evening, it's going to be a blast. The Anaheim date is going to be right around NAM. Also Nashville going to be super fun. I've never spoken there. I don't think I've ever been there. Maybe I've been there on tour, whatever. And then New York will be a banger. So hang out with us, come drink a beer, come learn about music marketing, ask Jesse questions about his personal life. It'll be a blast. Hey, so I'm here with my friend Rob Gross, Senior Vice President of Label Services and Business Development at the Syndicate. I got his title right.
Hell yeah.
How are you, Rob?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Rocking and rolling. So before we really get into it, I think the first question is, what does label services even mean?
When you have a label services company, it basically encapsulates all the services that back in the day that a traditional label would do for you, except that we're an agency, so it's for hire. So it's a retainer-based business, no ownership, a very clean way of doing business in a lot of ways. So it's a broad term, like the other several terms we have for jobs like we do, project manager, product manager, marketing director, VP of marketing, whatever, things like that. But it's basically an all-encompassing term for that.
So I feel like every time I talk to you, you break out some other classic artists you've worked with, like Black Sabbath or the Rolling Stones, as well as obviously a lot of very new, exciting artists. How did you go from a guy from Florida to working with artists like that?
I started working at 14. I was like a baseball umpire and summer camp.
You really?
I was, yeah.
That
And
rules.
yeah, I wanted to work and eventually got a job at like a local fast food chain diner situation called Miami Subs, which is really good. They're still there, some of them. And then I started working at the record store at the mall. It was called Specs, which became The Wall or Camelot, and then eventually FYE. And I started and we had like a third key holder and we all thought he was so cool because on the weekends he would come in and put in like these end cap displays in the CD sections and cassette sections. And he was doing all this really cool shit, like with like flats and posters. And I was like, what's that? What do you do? And he had just gotten a job working for Island Def Jam through Universal, then called the horribly named UMVD. So Universal Music and Video Distribution in Sunrise, Florida. We had like 11 offices around the country. And I started interning there. And I would drive down the 5 hours from Jacksonville when I was in college on the weekends. And I'd make sure my class schedule was only Monday through Thursday. I'd get in about 3 o'clock in the morning Friday, get up at 7, and then go intern and pack posters and, learn about the business. I didn't even know what distribution was. I was like 19. And yeah, eventually just worked in, I think, 4 different offices, 7 different markets. And the guy that got me that job, he's still working for Universal, Mike Lawson. He's a legend. It's amazing.
I love that. That's quite the career he's had.
Yeah, he's moved around. He's probably the only other person I know that's moved around as much as I have, specifically for a singular company.
Yeah.
Because at Universal, it's like you didn't get paid much back then. Not that we all get paid so much now, but we didn't get paid like anything back then. And it was basically like, okay, well, do you want to move or do you not want to have a job? Or here's where the opportunity is. You're going to live in San Francisco for 3 years. So anytime there was an opportunity in my 20s, I just literally packed my shit and got in the car.
I love that. One of the things that, I think people don't really grasp about label services is like, where do you view your place in the business? Because obviously there's labels, obviously there's you. A lot of different type of people hire label services companies, from major stars who kind of own their rights to people trying to kind of DIY it the whole way through? How do you view your role?
Yeah, it's a really good mixture, and I think at the Syndicate, we do a really good job of balancing all that. So we do, everything from running a campaign for an artist that just wants to have, like, a college radio campaign that maybe doesn't have a lot of social presence or is just kinda getting rolling and wanna kind of, like, establish their DMAs where they can tour, get their Spotify monthly listenership up, which, by the way, is a great way to do that, is to do a low tier radio campaign and kind of see if it even sticks. If you have, people out in the middle of nowhere that fuck with you, that will, like, oh, I'll take a chance on you. All of a sudden you have some fans in Fargo, North Dakota. Pretty cool. But yeah, I think there's very few of people out there that I know of that do kind of what I do. I know two other gentlemen that you also know that do this for a living and have done this for a living for a long time. And that trust and longevity, they go hand in hand. But I think our sweet spot here can be anywhere, depending on who we're working with. But let's say last year was a bigger year for established artists that have been on majors, let's say 20, 30, 40 years, that are like, hey, I want to own everything. I don't need to give a label. I'm going to owe Sony, for example, for the rest of my life. What if I just gave you X amount of money and then I collect everything. I don't own everything. And then I have full say. I get to go to the distributor I want. I get to work with the people I want. And then ultimately, I think we work harder because we have to. And I think that's something that's kind of like agency life is very much getting to pick and choose and when you're in a good financial state. But label life is basically like, okay, you might be the rock guy at a major label, but you're not getting away without working some terrible artists. There's just no way around it, right? Like eventually labels get tired of rock and then you get handed crossover pop country. You get handed something that's hip hop, which I love and grew up on, but it's not really hip hop. So I think there's a lot of freedom in what we do versus what we did.
Is that level of self-determination always a good thing for artists just starting out? Because sometimes I feel like having a label structure where it's like, this is what you do, here's how you do it,
Yeah.
takes away a lot of pressure.
Huge. It's a huge, huge thing you just you just mentioned. Because I think when we start working with artists that have not been on a label, even an indie label in the past, and they're doing it all themselves, maybe they're self-funded, maybe they have an investor, whatever it is almost irrelevant to what you just said. Because I think if you don't come in with those core basics, oh, skills, but knowledge within 30 seconds of speaking to a prospective client, I can tell, okay, this is going to be like a choose your own adventure type thing. This is going to be an educational campaign, or this is going to be, it's a very kind umbrella way of saying, oh no.
I'm gonna steal that. I really got me. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, but it just is. It's almost like when you talk, like when you've talked about this too on socials. Like when you're talking about social like platforms, you're talking about, let's say TikTok, for example. It's like, what are the things that work the best? And it's education and it's comedy and or self-deprecation or what, depending on who it is, right? Not necessarily you don't want to see Sleep Token out there like shitting all over him, themselves. Then maybe that is the move, right? Then you work into Guar territory, but they've carved out a niche doing that. There's just that educational piece is so important because I think there's so many skills and the things you're not that maybe you don't want to do again or that you're not supposed to do by being in the major system. And there are things that you learn, you meet a lot of people that way. So like if you're a band that's on the rise or a label believes in you, you're going to get introduced. You're going to get hopefully late night, or you're going to get introduced to the right writers on the press side, or you're going to get, you're going to know all the right people in the radio space or whatever it is. You don't necessarily get that working with an agency unless you already come in with that or we help build it for you with you. So there's a lot of push and pull, right? Like if we're doing our SOWs, we're doing our simple contracts. There are some artists that are like, well, I want to put KPIs and ROI. I want to put all these numbers. Like I want to get to 1 million views on this video. And I want that in the contract because I want to hit that. We won't sign that because how do I know that you're going to hold up your end of the deal?
Yeah.
So there's a little more nuance, I think, to what we do. But yeah, I think that for some artists, being in a label, even for a little bit, even an independent label, does make sense to show you how the machine works, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like the other thing that people don't necessarily grasp is that machine is set up to kind of, when it's done right, is set up to kind of draw you into the world. Right.
100%.
Why do you think there aren't more label services companies out there? Like you were saying, there's only 2-3 people that do what you do. Why don't we see that more often?
I think there are other companies in our space. There are. I've had the fortune, and I'm not using this as like a place to pitch my company. Trust me, I'm not. Like I love what I do. I love people I work for. Like I'm looking at it from a very different vantage point than I think anybody else, just by how my career kind of, laid out, is that a syndicate's been around for almost 29 years. So I've been hiring them for radio, press, street marketing, college marketing, things like that for over 15 years now. So when I came to work here, I already had that kind of, I already kind of knew what the syndicate was kind of built upon. And I've also worked with some of our competitors in this space to varying degrees of success, but that could have just been chance. But in my case, there's not a lot of people that know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think doing like what you do, what I do, not, to shout him out, somebody like Chris Enriquez in this space where you just, over time, you're just nice and you just kind of learn who you want to hang out with, but also you kind of just know everyone. And that's, I think more of a blessing than a curse, but I think that's why a lot of people don't do this, because it is hard to put yourself out there. I talk about this all the time, where like going out and running an event, even if it's a casual bar hang like we've done, not a lot of people want to do that or can do that or feel comfortable doing that, right? And then how to balance it when you're there. Okay, wow, 70 people showed up. I have to talk to, at least say hi to 70 people, right? The other side of it is like, that's a, well, on that side, that's a skill that I think you're just born with. You have it or you don't have it. When you're learning how to do it, say meta ads or things like that, yes, it's a discernible skill, but that's something that can be taught. So I think
Yeah.
that sociable side of it is something that you could probably get better at, but I don't think you can fully learn how to do it as like you're born with it.
And you also need to want to do it. Because I was talking
Yeah,
about, like,
yeah.
I talk about this sometimes with my team who are great at running meta ads, but don't really have an interest in doing that side of things, which is fine.
Yeah.
Right. I was talking about it with one of my people today. And it was like, yeah, like I need to spend, like, to grow the company, I need to spend more of my time going like, how do I host more parties?
That's it though. Like it's, when I was in LA, like let's say like maybe like over 10, 12 years ago, there was very few spots, even with all the good weather, like where you could just go outside at a bar or at a venue. Everything was very much indoors for some reason. And we would just always go after work, like once a week, twice a week, to this one spot, El Chavito. And we would just go there because there was a taco truck and like the drinks were good and it was a cool environment. And little by little, over the course of like my first 2 years back in LA, I noticed that every, what was it, say, let's say it was Wednesday, crew just got bigger and bigger. And until it closed, and we closed it down when it closed permanently. Um, it was just nice to have like that spot, that local business you're supporting, a place where "Oh shit, are you doing the thing on Wednesday?" "Yeah, we're doing the thing on Wednesday." It was cool, and I think it just becomes part of the job, and I don't mean like it's work. I meant like it was like cool, like I know that every Wednesday night I'm gonna be at El Chavito hanging out, meeting people, having a good time, but also like building my Rolodex, for lack of a more
No,
modern.
yeah. How do you first start getting invited to the hang? I feel like that's where people start to get very anxious. They're like, how do I start getting pulled into the thing?
I think you just wanna do it. I think when you get to a company and you find that you gravitate towards the person or people that are doing these things, or that are going out to shows more, that have a more active roster, and then you just ask to tag along to one of those shows or like a dinner, and then hopefully, you're impressionable enough, or you're smart enough, or funny enough to be able to kind of want to get invited back, because where you're not wanted or not invited, and that's okay too. It's happened to all of us. But I think that's it. You just go right for it. You just like, okay, cool. I'm new at a company, or like I don't go out enough. What shows are this week? Is there somebody like that I know that goes out all the time, that knows a lot of people? Let me gravitate towards them and see where that takes you. I mean, that's really the organic way in.
And this applies to artists too, just to be clear to people watching.
Yeah, we just like in LA about a year ago, we signed this artist that's kind of like in the Bad Omen, Sleep Token kind of space, and he's a younger artist. He's like a studio rat, and I mean that as a compliment, like a really good studio musician, but hasn't played a show yet. And his dad was helping him on the investment side, and it wasn't a typical like dadager situation. Like he's a really good guy, and like was like, hey, I'm out of my depth with knowledge, but I have money. What do I do? And ultimately, what he wanted was just to be able to go out with us. He wanted to really like, hey, if there's a cool like like happy hour event, like can I come and meet some other artists? Can I come and meet some DSP editors? And that's what we did. And that value for his campaign wasn't in like the super creative rollout. He knew exactly what he wanted it to be. And on no matter how frustrating that was because we had other ideas, that was he took that portion of the pie. He wanted that. He wanted to own that. My value there was where can you take me to meet people? I want to get completely immersed in the LA industry scene. That sounds horrible, but it's actually not that bad. But it sounds pretty terrible, but it can be okay. But it was literally it. Like, hey, there's a benefit for one of the other companies we're working for. There's going to be some like really cool editors that we like at Apple that are going to be there. Come hang. Or we're doing a hang at this bar that has like pinball machines and a taco truck and come out and hang with like 5 other bands and some other labels that are they're reserving other tables here. And you can do it a little more organized, get an eventful thing going, but I just have never done that.
And this is something I've talked about. You can organize that on your own. So obviously going to shows and talking to people is supremely valuable.
Yeah.
I think what you're kind of talking about here is going to shows is like step 1. And then step 2 is go to more of a time where we talk to each other.
Excellent point, because you go to a show, you are screaming in somebody's ear. You are getting the 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, between set when you're trying to get a drink or go to the bathroom or get a snack, or like the person that you're with obviously knows more people. They're probably talking to other people. You're trying to weasel into those conversations. So that's your toe in the pool. Then all goes well. I never thought about it this way, honestly, right? But now I'm thinking about it now. This is the way to do it. Like, hey, that was rad. Like, do you want to like let's grab a drink next week? Are you doing a hang? I'd love to come. Like next time you do like a dinner with more other people from other departments or whatever. I'd love to attend. It's that simple, but I think the show is the gateway. The show is the Metallica of it's the weed of building this for yourself.
But I also think that in my general analysis, and also like a lot of surveys back this, most people wish they were more social, right? Like I feel like very frequently I will reach out to freakishly high level people and be like, this whole last week I was in LA, just reaching out to a bunch of high level people, like, let's get coffee. And I think sometimes I'm shocked at at the frequency where those people hit me back and are like, oh, people like don't ask me for that. And I am trying to like go out and do more things.
That's everything. That's for everyone, I think. I mean, speaking for myself only, but I felt it and talked about it with people. It's why I started a podcast at the time. But like during COVID, it was very much like that, where it was like, I think we all realized more than ever how much the people that need it didn't just need it, you needed it, right? Like you needed that interaction. And I think since then, because if you recall, before COVID, video calls were not a thing. They just
No.
weren't. Like you had maybe one a month, maybe. And you were like, why am I getting on a video call? And you were like in a conference room because you were like talking to a satellite office or something like that. It was super rare. Everyone, like when I was at BMG, everyone used to just climb into my office. There was like 12 of us in my small ass office. And we'd sit in there and just call the managers, call the teams. And guess what? We got all our work done. But so the video call, I think what it's done, because there's like that face-to-face part of it, I think it's sort of eliminated a very sizable chunk of some people's need or want to go out and do face-to-face meetings, but it ain't the real thing. Like it's just not it. Like I would traveling and going to meet clients, going to meet prospective clients, to retain your clients, to go just hang, to go, like you said, have coffee with somebody that you might never do business with, you might never see again. Those are all things that are absolute necessities in this industry.
So there's two things. One of the interesting things with video calls about what makes them awkward is that the space between us right now is wrong because my nose is 18 inches from my camera, your nose is 18 inches from your camera, and that's too close is like part of the thing.
Didn't think of that. Yeah.
No, there's like, I was reading this article, there's like a weird, like, how close we expect to sit from each other. You know, I also think that there's like a lot of, obviously calls like this are valuable, but I think there's a lot of value lost when it's like, oh, this is a half-hour networking sesh with this guy. Like, it feels a lot less loose and fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, we know each other, so it's fine, but if, you know, it's not. Yeah, I didn't think about the distance. That's such a valid point, because like, when I'm talking to somebody and they get too close, I back away, and I'm crazy sociable, and I'm like, "Hey, we don't have to know what each other smells like," you know?
Yeah, it's just weird, right? If you're enjoying this interview, there's a full back half that we just have put behind the paywall. So do us a solid and subscribe on YouTube or whatever other platform you're listening on. Click that join button and get access to the rest of the interview and 2 extra segments for just $5 a month. These will be not just some of our best segments as a group, but also interviews with some of the smartest people in music discussing how to get your music heard.
So, guys, what's your listening age on Spotify?
Oh, well, mine was very boring because mine was 31 and I'm 34.
Boo.
So they literally got me down to a T. But I have loved the listening age because I've been able to make fun of a lot of my friends for their ridiculous listening age, like Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, I told my wife she's a pedophile since I'm a 17-year-old.
Jesse has the listening taste of a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah,
Apparently.
that's right. I used to say a 20-year-old gay guy living in London was what one of my friends once described me, but apparently I got the age a little too high.
Yeah. Mine is 21, but only because my babies get a hold of my phone and listen to Huntrix a million times, and I feel like that skews. So
Listen
it's
to
very
what?
confused. It's like
Wait. Listen to what?
Huntrix,
Oh,
Yeah.
the K-pop team, the K-pop team.
K-pop
Yeah.
Demon Hunters.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is a phenomenal record. I listened to it. It genuinely, I think, should win every fucking award because it's so good. But my 7-year-old is probably like, I had to give her own Spotify account because it was messing up my algorithm. And she'll sit there for 4 or 5 hours listening to that record over and over again.
I love that.
It's nuts, dude. I'm like, are you okay? Like, holy crap.
Matt, are you ready to confess to your boomerdom?
I got 64.
Whoa.
That could be my listening grandfather, ironically.
But I want to point out, one, I'm working my way through the top 1,000 records on Rate Your Music. So I've been listening to a lot of like old like soul and jazz records. Although I kind of was doing that before I started this listening project, but I'm trying to get like the most vast understanding of music I can.
I found a very interesting difference between all of us was the listen time.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting.
Mine was very low. Mine was like 6,000 minutes or something. I think it's probably double that because I listen to a lot of vinyl that's not on Spotify, obviously. But my wife's was 18, and Jesse, you were like
29,000, I thought maybe.
And Matt, you were like 56,000 or something.
Plus
ridiculous?
14,000 minutes of podcasts.
I want to hold on a second because I actually think would be awesome because their new feature is the party, right? Have you guys seen this?
No, tell us.
So you can do a wrapped party and compare everybody's wrapped. So if you want, we can go ahead and do that. I'll screen record it. We'll throw it up on screen.
Think you're the best listener in 0.4 sets party. That's right, I do.
Let's see.
Who listened the
It's
most?
definitely not going to be me.
Oh,
Yeah, I know I'm last. I'm pretty positive.
All right, Matt. 56,000
No.
minutes?
I mean, Matt
Jesus,
is
dude.
technically almost exactly double more than me.
Do you like play music on your like while you're sleeping on?
No,
Spotify
but
or something?
but like I listen to like, hey, I'm in a plane a lot, so I listen to a lot of music.
I mean, that doesn't mean
Traveling.
anything. I listen to music all day, but I don't ever listen to it on a played is audiobook or podcast time for me.
I mean that too, but also it's like 153 minutes a day. That's like 3
Oh,
records.
it's still going. Who played the most track?
Who played the rarest track?
Oh, the
It's gotta
rarest
be
track?
Matt, right?
Oh, it's gonna be Matt because he's been listening to some weird ass shit. No,
Oh, is it me?
Wait,
Look at that.
rarest listen. Fate came calling. He said, "What? By who?
Mm.
Who is that?"
That's a client. Of mine.
That's why.
Nice. I don't even know what mine is.
Mine is completely destroyed by my children.
yeah, but that also like doesn't
Yeah.
seem accurate. Like I know I listen to songs with less than 15,000 streams. I don't know.
It's at
Yeah,
25.
Well, I do feel like I do too. I'm looking to.
Oh wait, who discovered the most artists? I wonder what it considers a discovery here.
I
Look at-
do. I
Ooh.
listen to a lot of variety. Like every day, I try to like listen to new shit all the time.
So do I.
Damn,
Interesting.
886.
I mean, well, yeah, I've got double yours. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, wild.
yeah.
I listen to my Discover Weekly a lot, top to bottom. So that does 30 a
I haven't
week.
listened to Discover Weekly in years.
Mine,
Yeah,
mine
mine's
is very,
really-
very good.
Here we go. It's moving on.
Hmm.
Who's the most obsessed fan?
Oh no, we're gonna find out how much I listen to the Highwaymen.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson.
Oh,
Look
the
at the- oh, the
contortionist.
contortionist. Whereas I got 2 Hollis.
Two Hollis. That's funny.
It does sleep.
Dustin
Yeah,
sleep.
dude, I love some sleep
Matt
tokens.
I didn't
guessed
know
this
you
right.
liked
The
sleep that
Highwaymen.
much.
5.3% of your listening is this one artist. That's crazy, Andrew.
I mean, honestly, most of my listening to them has been on vinyl in the past.
That's add to it. Can it
Probably double.
I should
this.
say in my defense too, Chew Hollis has put out 48 great songs in 18 months, which I
Goddamn.
rounded up. Which it's a really wild
Wait,
thing
it's
to put
moving.
out.
Who's the strongest and weakest
48
match? Sorry.
Jesse
Putting out
doesn't,
Those.
Jesse
putting out
doesn't want to be
48 good
connected to me.
songs.
Boom.
Hey,
Yeah, you guys are similar.
Sorry, Jesse.
true
It's
Oh,
Nina
man.
Jirachi.
That's what you get for saying I have bad
what-
taste.
It's true.
oh, the least compatible duo.
Guys,
Wow, he and Jesse. Are the
That doesn't
least
surprise
compatible.
me.
yeah, because you listen to a lot of metal and I listen to very little.
I mostly listen to
Guys, I have to
metal,
tell you,
so-
it was fun. When I went to get my coffee right before this, they were listening to Nina Jirachi in the coffee shop.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
boy. Gonna get coffee there from now on.
Yep.
All right. Let's see
So-
what else.
Oh, I can add an emoji. I
Oh,
thumbs
nice.
up. My heart.
All right, roll out the red carpet. It's time for the awards.
Yeah.
Jesse
so-
Cannon got the highest BPM listening to fast songs, which is surprising considering your listening habits, Andrew.
But
Yeah,
metal's
well,
not
most
always
of my
fast
progressive metal.
compared to like my really upbeat
Yeah.
EDM. I'm listening.
Absolute
Boom. Most
Chaos
diverse
Award.
taste. Fuck you, Jesse.
Given to the player with more nice.
I
You
mean, I don't
weirdo.
think I have diverse taste.
Matt got the absolute chaos.
I'm just
award.
trying to beat
I-
you, okay?
I know you have much more diverse taste than me. I listen to
The most mainstreamer, given to the
Ooh.
player who listens to the most
Mm.
popular music. That's my Huntrix.
Mm. I don't know. A lot of country music's really
That's
popular now,
true.
so that might-
The Night Out. We listen to the most music at night.
oh
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's me. I'm up till 5 a.m.
That's
I was about
that's
to say,
crazy
it's-
considering I've won that in every other party I've been in. So you must be really up late.
I was gonna say it's
5 a.m.
a
every
miracle
day.
to beat me who stays up till 3 a.m. almost every night. So
Yeah.
you really are the real one here.
And now an award you could only win together. Drum roll, please. The Vibe Blender Award. Your group has just enough listening in common to make it works delicious. What is okay?
Sure.
The hell does
That's
that even
not
mean?
fun.
So
We-
did
we-
we see anything interesting with Spotify Wrapped being different this year?
Obviously, this has been the worst PR year for Spotify ever. Basically, you know, so there's that.
Until next year.
Well, yeah. But my point being, this has been the worst PR year for Spotify ever. The Wrapped, like the party thing that we just did is cool, but it's not well above and beyond a lot of stuff they did before, you know. And I also think, you know, the other thing that like bugs me is you're seeing a lot of people shaming folks for posting their Spotify Wrapped. And obviously
Really?
it's like, oh yeah.
Wait, really? Did you? Are you? Is that
No, this is
sarcastic,
real.
or-
Like
I saw
the
0.
the the, the day I opened up Threads the day Spider Rap came out, and I was so like just shocked at this that I literally said to my wife like, "Look at this," and I just scrolled, and every post I just said if it was about Wrapped or not, and it was like of the top 15 posts, 14 out of 15 were shitting on Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, that's my point.
And maybe
No,
that's just
no, but
my
that,
Threads
that's what I'm
algorithm
saying
or
is
whatever.
that there was a lot of shit talk.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Dustin's really because like you didn't see it.
I
Dustin,
didn't
I'm
see it.
guessing. And I all like it's all I saw the day of was just people dumping on Spotify Wrapped and people going on other people were posting and being like, "How dare you post this? We're boycotting Spotify and you're posting Spotify Wrapped."
Well, they're boycotting because of running ice ads on the platform, right?
And the drones.
And I mean, the drone thing is definitely a real thing, but I believe that, and we talked about this, that legally they can't say no to the ice ads, right?
Well, we haven't gotten that totally confirmed, but that is what another ad network has said.
Someone figured out roughly how much the ICE spent on Facebook ads and Google ads / YouTube ads and all that. And Spotify represented about 3% of their total spend. Most of it was on Google and YouTube, with a big chunk on Meta, and then also they did Pandora and HBO Max. And so the weird
HBO
thing
Max
to
has
me,
ads?
yeah, yeah, on their lower price tier. I don't know. It seems very selective to me that people are going on Meta to talk about boycotting Spotify when literally Meta is responsible for way more of the
Yeah.
advertising, and then they don't boycott YouTube when it's way more of the spending. And I feel like it's because of all the other stuff Spotify has that artists are just taking selective outrage. Like, oh, all these places are doing it, but I don't like Spotify the most, therefore I'm gonna pick on Spotify for this one
It
thing.
was the same thing, though, when everybody would bitch about Spotify's royalties and YouTube was a worse payer for literally until very recently. And I think it's the same thing also that DistroKid has had a lot of the time is that they get blamed when they're doing the same things as all the rest. They just have a bigger market share.
They're just king of the castle, so they get picked on the most. Like DistroKid at one point was distributing 70% of all music. And so when people say, It's all I see on Reddit is all these problems happening with DistroKid," it's just a function of 70% of all music is distributed on
I
DistroKid.
wanted to share a quote. My friend Becky from the band The Iron Roses, which if you like kind of pop punk, that's for you. But she wrote, "Things I'm not going to do: judge people who enjoy art on an easily accessible platform which gives them proximity to music that keeps them alive in a world spinning faster and faster into the point of no return. Is it a perfect platform? No. Neither is the one you're currently using to point fingers at them on. If you want to encourage folks to choose more ethical options, doing so with anger and shame ain't the way. We're all at the bottom of the barrel here, folks. The enemy isn't on your friends list. Your community is." That's kind of a weird way to end it. But the point being, like, yeah, it's just I find people complaining on Meta about Spotify to be very funny, given that Meta is a platform that literally. Well, I wonder if this will get censored if we clip it. Meta is a platform that literally facilitated a genocide and got away by saying whoopsie.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
straight up. You can look that up
Yeah.
in Myanmar.
The only fact check I have is a genocide when it was really 2. Just Myanmar was much more blatant that they did it. So
Yeah.
Like, shaming other people for engaging with a DSP because you have beef with it is not how you change the world. In fact, you're gonna piss off like, okay, boycott Spotify, but being like, "How dare you share your Wrapped?" I mean, everybody has to pick their poison, right? And they have to fight somehow. And so, that person might be fighting they might have a thing against Walmart and how terrible Walmart is and how they don't pay and they're not shopping at Walmart. And they could say the same thing about you shopping at Walmart.
the real
Yeah.
thing being that you know, I am presently making a documentary on this, and one of the big things we see over and over, just like the same thing with like, oh, you didn't recycle that bottle. Attacking musicians who are the most beaten down people in this process, when what you can actually be doing is organizing to get more people into the musicians union, organizing to get more people
Yeah.
to have bargaining power against Spotify so that their profit model gets fucked over, organizing to go and support Rashida Tlaib's legislation about paying a surplus on the music subscription fees. All of that will fuck Spotify at the end of the day. Also, voting for strong antitrust people and working to get them elected will do a lot better than bullying your local musician with an IQ of 80 at best, that they shouldn't post Spotify Wrapped.
When it comes to the actual Spotify Wrapped, though, so outside of all the drama around Spotify, I feel like this year was the best year in terms of all the stuff they shared and how it looked and all the like, at the end, they had this, like and a lot of people hated it, but this awesome AI summary at the end. It was, like, one of my favorite parts of it in hindsight. They used, like, ChatGPT or some integration to look at, like, the specifics of, "Oh, this night of the
Oh, yeah.
year, you had the craziest listening journey. You listened to this at 2 AM, you listened to that at 4 AM." It was actually
Do we
really fun and shareable,
do
and
we think AI was
people
needed to do that insight? Like, that seems like pretty easy data.
well, the way it was written in natural
Gotcha.
language, so it was, like, in very personalized, like, I would get an award for, like, I don't know, it's like your most progressive metal night of the year, and it only listed the different prog metal artists with different timestamps, and it kinda talked about some backstory about the whole listening experience with that, and it was very well done, and it was very tasteful, and they flagged it as a generative AI used or whatever, and then I saw so many people posting that because of that flag of some generative AI used, that therefore the whole Wrapped was just generated with AI, and they fired all their employees to do it, which was not the case.
We talked about this a little bit before we started recording. One of the most fascinating things about Spotify Wrapped to me is everybody likes reading about themselves, but I think that it's really I think it's really funny how much of a personal connection people feel to their Spotify Wrapped, because people have such a deep emotional connection to music. So kind of combining like the data of what you're consuming with the data of what you're consuming combined with, hey, this is what I love, just really resonates. And I think that there are ways for artists to kind of bring that forward in their own work that can be remarkably effective. Even just when you see like an artist post, you listen to 15 million minutes of our music in 186 countries. Like when I see an artist like that, I feel like I'm part of a larger community. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I think that's really cool to think about, and that like, hey, we have this really kind of interesting distillation of like what we love.
It's also a good reminder that the music industry is about the listener and who they are, and music is a self-reflection of their own thoughts, feelings, and worldview. And the industry forgets that a lot. It's very egocentric on this side, where the shit that you make only matters if it matters to who these people are personally, which is why honestly Wrapped is so brilliant. It's why that it's completely shifted the whole end of year agenda for every other app to share data. Which also, as a nerd, I'm excited. Everybody's excited about data. Data can be fun.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We're trying to get this to go as far as it can, so please start a conversation with a musician friend and send it to them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on your favorite podcast app. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and make sure you ring that bell so you don't miss our uploads every single Tuesday. And if you can rate us on Apple and Spotify, it helps us a ton. Tune in next week for more.